Hello and welcome to episode 45 of my Working with Evernote series. In this episode, I want to show you how you can develop a research project, whether this is for a master's degree or a PhD, or even if you're writing a book, as I do. I write books every year, but there's a way of, well, the way I develop my research project or my research for writing books. I wanted to show you how I set this up using both a notebook and using the tagging system. So today I want to show you how you can set up a research project in Evernote using both a notebook and using a tagging system. Now, of course, many people may have different ways of doing this. This is just one way of, I'm sure, many different ways. But I wanted to show you how I do my research projects in Evernote because I just find it's such a useful tool to have, and it also shows you how you can bring the different elements of Evernote together to help you whenever you have a large project such as a university master's degree where you may have to be writing a thesis and you're collecting data. Likewise for me when I'm writing a book, before I write a book, probably about 3 to 6 months before I start writing, I am collecting data for this book. And Evernote is my reference file for all my research information. But I had a question this week in my on this channel about how to set up a research project, and I realized that I've never actually shown you guys how I would go about doing this. But like I say, this is just one of many different ways. If you have a better way, then fine, please share that with us in the comments section below. I'm sure the viewers would be very happy to see that. So let's get straight into Evernote and I'll show you how I do this. Okay, so here is my project list and here's the sample research project that I have started. So what I'm going to do before I start any new project, whether it's writing a book or any kind of research project, is I'm going to open up a new notebook. And remember, to open a new notebook is you just go into your notebooks window like I've got here, and then click on New Notebook, and that's going to give you the option to create a new notebook. So you type in the name and then private or shared if you're doing a shared project with somebody else. But I've already created that because I wanted to save a little bit of time. Now, the next thing that you need to do is set up the tags. Now, for me, I've got here the sample research project is here. And what I've done is I've created 3 sub projects. Now, sample research project is a little bit long. So I've put SRP and then I've got articles, notes and text. So what that means is, now at the moment I've got nothing in there, but articles are for anything that I've collected that I want to use as a reference for my actual research project. Notes are notes that I have actually written myself. Maybe I've interviewed somebody, or maybe I've had a meeting with my professor if I'm doing a thesis or something. And text is for paragraphs or possibly pages that suddenly I get inspired to write, and I might want to write them on my iPhone because I'm on a subway or in a bus or something like that. So I'm going to start writing. So I always keep a text file there. This is just for paragraphs, for stuff that I may want to include in the book, because I can copy and paste it into the application that I use for writing books. So what I want to do now is I want to show you this in action. This is my scan, but I've actually been saving a special offer, and I'm actually going to mention it here, and I'll put the code in. Although this is more related to my Todoist thing, one of my favorite applications is Scanbot. I've been using it for many years, and they have asked me if I would want to show how you can now use Scanbot with Todoist. But to be honest with you, I've used Scanbot with my Evernote, and it automatically goes straight into my Evernote when I create a new note. So this was a Starbucks receipt that I collected. So if you're interested, I put the code in there. You can get 40% off premium Scanbot account if you use Working with Todoist as the code. I put the link in the notes section below. This offer is only until the 6th of March 2017, so if it's past that date, I'm sorry you missed the opportunity, but it's worth having a look at is Scanbot. I wasn't intending to actually have it in this episode, but while it's there, hey, why not? You can take advantage of it too, guys. Right, so let me just go, I'm going to go into my, let's go into Safari, and I'm going to collect, what I've been looking at recently is Tony Robbins, RPM, which is a, I've forgotten what he calls it, but anyway, this is what's called the rapid planning method. I quite like it. Now, this is a PDF file that I'm downloading here. And let's say I want to put this into my Evernote. Now, unfortunately, Evernote here, I haven't. This is my laptop, and I don't use it very often. Code, so you can see my but I can code, sign as it's in. A random code. It doesn't really matter. Code, just a second. So I've signed in. I should have done this before I started recording, but anyway. So there we go. I've now connected myself into Evernote, so we are in. So let's say I want to save this PDF directly into my Evernote, so I can click on save and off it goes. And this might take a few minutes because I'm pretty sure this PDF, as you see, is syncing now. But what I'm going to do when this actually comes into my Evernote, which is going to do now, so let's just go into it. I'm going to clear these out while we're waiting for that to come in. So let's clear those out. Okay, and I'm going to click in. There we go. So this has now come in. It's the workbook for Time of Your Life. It's the Tony Robbins one. So what I'm going to do is now, here's the little trick. If you're processing from in your inbox, always put the tags in first. So I'm going to put in S. So we've got SRP down here, and this is going to count as an article. So I'm going to click on that, SRP articles, and then I'm going to put in my sample research project. The reason I do that is because as soon as you put in the project, it disappears straight into that project. So I go into my notebooks now, SRP is there, and it's got the label articles, and it's got everything there. Now, what I'm doing when I'm creating these this kind of research project is I like to keep my articles in its own place, and then I can actually go through the articles when I have time, and then I can also add the notes if I want to add notes or whatever, but they can all be contained within the same project. But if I'm specifically looking for something, I can use my tags to get into it. So again, if I go into my search notes now, and this is what I do, is SRP, I've got SRP articles, which is just one note, but I can then go through whatever I'm looking for. By the way, when you do a PDF like this, it might be worthwhile, if you've got the opportunity, to actually go through this and add in what it is. So I can type in Tony Robbins RPM workbook. I'm going to give it its proper title because it will make it much easier for me to find that article when I need to search. It's always thinking about retrieval when I'm using Evernote. So just to review what I've done here is, the first thing I would do with any research project is create the notebook, which I've done here, sample research project. The next thing I would create tags. Now I normally create 3 tags as I've shown here. So we've got one for articles, one for notes that I've taken from maybe interviewing with client or whatever, and one for text. And this is for when I suddenly get the urge to write something when I'm out and about. I can just quickly grab it and then I can tag that as text. And then when I'm writing the book or when you're writing your thesis, you can actually include that text if you want to. Okay, hopefully that's helped some of you guys out there who've been asking about this question. How would you do a research project using Evernote? Well, that's the way that I would do it. But remember, at the beginning of this episode, I did point out that there are many ways of doing this, and this is just the way that I would set up my research project. Okay, I hope you found this very useful. For those of you guys who are interested in the Scanbot thing, just remember that the deadline for the promo code where you can get 40% off actually expires on the 6th of March 2017. So if it's past that date, I'm sorry, you've missed out on that opportunity. Okay, so I hope you all have a very, very productive week, and I will see you in the next episode.